What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything going on here in our country that you need to know about here on a daily basis. And we have a major development going on here in Congress here today. And Republicans and Democrats have been at each other here over a bill that would have given health care to veterans have fallen through. A major breakthrough here today. Here's what happened earlier. Check this out.
41 past the hour, we're following growing calls for Congress to pass legislation that will expand medical coverage to millions of veterans exposed to toxic burn pits. Joining us now is NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ali Vitale. Ali.
Jose, we have been out here for the last few days with veterans advocates, including John Stewart, who's standing next to me, who are trying to pressure the Senate to take up this vote on the PACT Act, which would expand health care benefits to veterans impacted by toxic burn pits. This is the fifth or sixth day that I've been out here with you guys. Last week, you were expecting it to be a celebration. The vote fell apart. Now, what's your message to these lawmakers as we stretch into Tuesday? When is this vote going to be happening?
The message is simply this. To Chuck Schumer, put it on the floor. These people, they can't keep this up. These people went through, here you go. Sorry about that. Knocked over a tripod. They can't keep it up. Like, how much more? This is cruel and unusual punishment. They came down here to celebrate a bill that already passed the Senate 84-14 when the rug got pulled out by 25 Republicans who switched their votes in July. What I'd ask you guys to do is go up to the Republican lunch today. They're having their lunch caucus, and get any of them you can get and say, can you show me in the bill what changed from January 16th when you voted 84-14 to when you voted it down? Point to what changed, because they can't, because nothing was added. One sentence was removed about taxation for rural providers. That is it. It's not mandatory discretionary, didn't change. Some crazy pork thing didn't get inserted and didn't change. This is misinformation, and it's beginning to take a toll.
But even yesterday, as you guys were out here on the steps of the Capitol, and again, veterans have been sleeping here to try to keep the focus on this, Jose. One of the senators who was out here that I saw was Senator Rick Scott, who's one of the 25 Republicans that flipped their vote. When you spoke with him yesterday, he seemed to say that he was on board for this. I mean, did you get any sense from him of what changed? Because you're right, the mechanics of this didn't.
We still don't know why this happened, honestly. Like, we've heard so many different things. One thing we heard was they were promised 2 amendments, and that didn't happen. One thing we heard was mandatory was changed to discretionary, but that's just factually incorrect. Another thing we heard was they were angry that some other bill had gotten passed that snuck around. You know, we can't get a straight answer of what the path forward is. So the last I heard was they've offered the amendments. The amendments that were demanded have been offered. Whether that goes down, and now all we care about is put it on the floor today. And you know, we tried to get it yesterday, and they said, well, nobody gets back really on Monday.
Well, we now have word that the Republicans have agreed to a deal with the Democrats to pass the veterans bill with a few amendments, even though, as you heard, there really wasn't any changes except for one line that was insignificant before. But now they want to make a deal here. Here is Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer here. Check this out.
The Majority Leader.
I ask unanimous consent the quorum be dispensed with.
Without objection.
Mr. President, over the last 5 days, we've seen what President Biden and a Democratic-led Congress are focused on getting done. Bringing terrorists to justice, lowering costs, reducing inflation and the deficit, helping out our veterans, and better competing with countries like China. I want to begin with a word on last night's strike. Last night, President Biden reported that the United States conducted a strike that targeted and killed Ayman al-Zawahiri, the notorious mass murderer, the leader of al-Qaeda, and one of the sick planners of the September 11th attacks, which in New York and around the country and the world we are still mourning. The strike against al-Zawahiri is a major victory for the United States. It will make our country and the entire world a safer place. It will also help bring an element of justice for the 9/11 families as well as the many Americans who still carry the scars deep within. I applaud President Biden for bringing final justice to this loathsome murderer who orchestrated the killing of thousands of my fellow New Yorkers, including some people I knew quite well. I also want to thank the President's national security team for keeping Congress fully and currently informed throughout the process. And finally, I want to applaud the skill and bravery of our dedicated intelligence community service members and diplomats who work day and night, to keep America safe. This successful mission will send a chill down the spine of terrorists all over the world, and likewise will send a clear message to those who wish to cross our nation and harm our citizens. You will find no comfort, you will find no quarter. You can run, but you can't hide. We will hunt you down to the ends of the earth until justice is carried out. Now on the PACT Act. Every day that passes without action on the PACT Act is another day that our nation's veterans have to do the unthinkable, fight for basic health care benefits they rightfully deserve. 2 months ago, the Senate overwhelmingly passed this bill that secured the largest health care benefit expansion for our veterans in decades. We are dealing by and large with that exact bill again, so there's no justification to delay swift passage of the PACT Act any longer. I'm very hopeful that Republicans can work with Democrats to break through the impasse on the PACT Act immediately. We have offered Senators Paul and Senators Toomey votes on amendments they've been calling for, set at a 60-vote threshold, just like the cloture vote has a 60-vote threshold. We hope to reach an agreement where we can act on this bill as soon as today. But for that to happen, our colleagues on the other side of the aisle should work with us in good faith. There's no better message we can send to the veterans that have camped out for nights in front of the Capitol that their long wait and the wait of veterans everywhere is finally over. These brave Americans risked life and limb to keep our country safe, and the very least we can do is ensure they receive top care. I urge my colleagues to come together so we can get the PACT Act done ASAP, as soon as today. Now on the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. The Senate is on track to consider and pass the groundbreaking and truly historic Inflation Reduction Act later this week. I want to thank the Office of the Senate Parliamentarian and all of the committee staff on both sides of the aisle for their tireless work on the birdbath process that is currently underway. All text and CBO and JCT scores have been submitted for review in this process. The parliamentarian and her team have dedicated long hours on our legislation, and I think I can speak for all senators in thanking them for their work. We are on schedule to consider this bill later this week. The more that people learn about what's in the Inflation Reduction Act, the more they find reasons to praise the bill, and the more absurd the Republican attacks sound. This morning, a group of 126 leading economists, including seven Nobel Prize winners, 3 former chairs of the Council of Economic Advisors, 2 former Treasury secretaries, wrote a letter to congressional leaders calling for swift passage of our bill. They found that our bill, quote, will fight inflation and lower costs for American families while setting the stage for strong, stable, and broadly shared long-term economic growth. That's 7 Nobel laureates, 3 former chairs of the CEA, 2 former Treasury secretaries. Let me read it again. This bill will, quote, fight inflation and will lower costs for American families while setting the stage for strong, stable, and broadly shared long-term economic growth.
Yeah, so let me know your thoughts here on this. We have a deal. We'll see if it passes here on the Veterans Health Care Act. And you heard also about the Inflation Reduction Act. Inflation is one of the major concerns here in the United States. It's actually the top concern here for pretty much most Americans here at this point. Poll after poll after poll shows that it is the top concern here. In fact, as you can see here, inflation, according to Pew Research, by a wide margin is Americans' top concern. Americans view inflation as the top problem facing the country today. So the Inflation Reduction Act could reduce inflation going forward. The White House says it will reduce inflation going forward. You can let me know your thoughts on this. But this is the number one concern of Americans right now here today. And, with this being the number one concern and with it right now, also the next 3 months will determine the Social Security cost of living adjustment, the COLA raise. It's actually for July, August, and September. So July that is now passed. Once we get the numbers for that, which will be coming out here in the next week or two. Once we get the numbers for that, that will be July, August, and September. That will determine the cost of living adjustment here for people on Social Security. And remember that we are already at a 40-year high of inflation. And this is affecting people's income, people's money, and what people will do with their money going forward. And with inflation at a 40-year high at 9% or more, depending on the category and depending on if inflation could be going even higher here in the future, a lot of people are wondering what to do, where to put their money, what can be done here in the future. And as you can see here from this chart here shows the gold here is literally the price of gold. And the blue line is the line of the S&P 500 index over the course of the last 50 years. And it shows the recessions here. And as you can see here, over the course of the last several recessions, when we had recessions, the price of stocks and the S&P 500 index went down, in some cases significantly. You look here in the 2007 and 2008 recession, for example, the S&P 500 went down by 37.4%. In fact, you look at this year, stocks are down significantly. Well, in that recession, gold went up by 16.3%. Okay, you look at the 2001 recession. S&P 500 went down by just under 2%. Gold went up by 5%. The 2020 recession, the S&P 500 again went down by 1.4%. And again, gold went up by 5.6%. So in each of the last 3 recessions, the S&P 500 stock index went down in one case very, very significantly, and gold went up by at least 5 or more percent in all 3 of these cases, which is very interesting. And which a lot of analysts right now confirm or think that we're in another recession here now, and stocks are down significantly this year. Gold looks like a pretty decent play for a lot of people. Now, I want to tell you about an interesting company here today, which is called Gold Royalty Corp, which is on the New York Stock Exchange, ticker symbol GROY. Now, the very interesting part about this company is a royalty gold corporation. It doesn't actually go in the ground. It focuses on royalties. And the best part about this is that when it comes to mining for gold, royalty companies typically get paid first. Yeah, check this out. Yeah, you can see here a royalty company typically gets paid first, an upfront payment for a royalty or a stream, then goes to the operating company. Yeah, so that is a very, very significant impact, a very, very significant thing you need to know here first. Royalty and streaming is an entirely different way of capturing the upside of mining activity, and in many ways is a de-risked form of exposure. Royalties and streaming business models typically provide greater diversification than typical mining companies. And these companies typically hold a diverse portfolio of assets, and they typically get paid first. And they don't typically have thousands and thousands of employees when it comes to this, because they're just the royalty companies. They're not the actual company who owns the entire gold mining company. They're just the royalty company. It's a business model that potentially allows the company to generate revenues whether the price of gold is going up or down. And I showed you the chart during the last 3 recessions. Gold performed very well during recessions. And when we know that stocks are not doing well, where do investors like to put their money? But let me know your thoughts. As a result, it's actually not unusual for the royalty companies to outperform the price of gold and gold miners. And as you can see here on the screen, Gold Royalty Company actually has royalty locations all around the world. They have 79 royalties in Nevada, 64 royalties in Quebec, and a series of other locations scattered all around the world. So you can see here they are diversified pretty much in a host of locations all around the world, and as I said, are pretty diversified. And when the company's IPO first came out, they raised funds at $5 a share. Right now, they're actually trading at slightly under $3 a share, which makes the company a great value investment right now. There was actually self-made billionaires Eric Sprott and self-made billionaire Rob McEwen, one of the best gold investors ever, and other big institutions put millions of their own dollars in this, and many of them have 3-year lockups, which have a lot of them have 2 years left of their money locked up in this. So a lot of them put their money where their mouth is. Some of these guys are literally billionaires and have believed in this company that much. So yeah, you can let me know your thoughts here. And on top of that, H.C. Wainwright and Company just issues a price target of $8.50, implying almost a 240% upside from here over the next 12 months. So the company Gold Royalty Corp, who is our sponsor for today's video, is on the New York Stock Exchange, ticker symbol GROY. As always, this is not investment advice. You need to do your own due diligence on any company that you are interested in. And let me know your thoughts here on the economy, the price of gold. Where do you think inflation is going here in the near future? And we are seeing gas come down here. But what do you think the economy is going to do here over the course of the rest of the year? And I will keep you up to date here on a daily basis. So make sure to subscribe down below to our YouTube channel if you haven't yet. It's completely free to do so. You can click here to watch my newest video next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next video.